online podcast.
Okay, there we go.
A 2-for-1 as we
Thanks for
welcome,
bringing me.
yeah, Right Worshipful Brothers Joe Evans and Oren Kutnowsky. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, brother.
Good
Appreciate
evening.
being here.
I guess
We
we can figure
appreciate
out
you.
who brought who and how you're getting home, especially since we're meeting in the virtual studio. This will be fun.
You
But
don't
we're here.
know, right? Worshipfuls teleport now. So what are you talking about? Travel is not a thing. It doesn't matter.
We live in here, man. We're in your mind all the
It's not a
time.
concern.
We're here to talk about it's a serious issue, and it's one that when I travel to other jurisdictions, and I'm surprised how some grand bodies have responded to it and others just haven't. And it's something that is not new at all to our fraternity. If you go all the way back to like the 19th century and some of our ancient newsletters and sacred, texts, they were actually talking about the membership problem that existed in Freemasonry. We had our spike, as we all know, and then it kind of came back down to earth and recently in generations, and we're seeing lodges that are consolidating, contracting, and we're seeing less members and less Masons that are out there. But certain Grand Lodges are standing up and taking some actions to address the engagement and retention part. And that's why we wanted to talk a little bit tonight about the Northstar program. For those of our listeners in Michigan and Ohio, you're going to be very similar with what we're talking about, which is awesome. But for the others, why don't we just kind of give like a really high level overview and how you got involved on what we affectionately refer to as the Northstar program.
Brother Joe, would you like to go first?
Sure. I think it was 2015 or 16. Right Worshipful Steve King sent out an email um, here in the old 17th, and he was inquiring with brothers who wanted to be a part of a program that was going to be an outreach for non-Masons, kind of like on a mentorship element. The idea was to basically bring in non-Masons and make them a friend of Masonry so they can understand what Masons do and the expectations of what Freemasonry has for non-Masons. And I've been a quote unquote success coach since then. And the past few years, I've been a district chair for the program. And of course, the program has changed a lot since 2016. And now I'm the a co-chair for the program for the state. Excited about that.
Oren, how about you?
Did you freeze, Mike?
Yeah, I'm sorry, it did freeze. So I started I've been a Mason about 10 years, and I started during COVID. I was just trying to figure out the North Star program. I was, sitting at home like everyone else, and I was reading the books and talking to the DD at the time, and we needed a North Star district chairman. And I applied, and he gave it to me. And little by little, I became a big advocate for the program. Through the years, I was the chairman for actually right until I became DD. So almost 5 years I was chairman. And then I helped the new chairman. But when the program works, it works. I've seen lodges, just go from barely existent to being powerhouses, and being the DD. And I look around some of these lodges and I'm like, I've had the conversation with that brother. I've had that conversation with that brother. So I'm a big proponent of the program. I love the program, everything it stands for, because it you can see it when it is working. And currently I'm just the DD for the Second Kings Masonic District. So
Just the DD.
Just the DD.
Very humble. Well, I got started in the North Star program as well. Probably, I think it was its first iteration. It was before COVID, definitely, back when they used the term success coach. And the one thing that I found interesting about it, and we'll get into kind of the dual process of how it works. The first part is how we get guys from filling out an online form on our website for the Grand Lodge of New York to getting them to visit lodges and eventually getting them to become Masons. But the other part is the transformative mind shift. And I think this was one of the most difficult things for lodges. Now, stop me if you've heard this. A guy shows up just visiting the lodge and says, "Hey, can I get an application to join?" And now we're not running and tripping over ourselves to give guys petitions. We have slowed this process down. Is this a key part of the success of the program?
So I believe it is. I mean, lodges are still doing what they feel culturally in their best interest to do. There's different nuances of the program. I've spoken to lodges from upstate New York all the way down to the east end of Long Island, and the program at its base slows down the system and gets brothers of the lodge to get to know their potential member. And when I used to have those conversations with the gentlemen who want to be Masons, I say this is not a race. This is a marathon. Marathon. It's going to take a little while. It's just enjoy the process, and you'll see when you enjoy the process of meeting the brothers a few times. Maybe this lodge is not for you. Maybe there's a better lodge out there that you're going to connect with. And you wouldn't know that if you just show up to a lodge and they hand you a petition. It's this slow movement of getting to know each other. Forming those fraternal bonds is what's the key to the Northstar program.
Joe, you had some success with this last year when you were bringing, and here's the crazy idea, bringing, what was it, 7-10 guys around on lodge visits throughout the district?
Yeah, when I was district chair for almost 2 years, I think about 42 names were sent to me, and they came across my desk. And out of those 42 names, 25 gentlemen responded. Out of the 25, 15 of them traveled to different lodges, and a dozen of them petition lodges. So when I would bring these gentlemen around, I would invite them to certain events just so they can get a feel for what lodges have. And like Brother Oren had said, it's basically we want to introduce them to certain cultures of different lodges. But we really just want to have them being introduced to a lodge that is culturally appropriate for them, because we, as here in upstate, we have lodges that are in farmland in the city. But I would just bring these gentlemen around to all the lodges. And yes, I'd had 7 or 8 guys meet me at certain lodges for certain events. The response was overwhelming. It was positive. So I would meet these guys at a lodge dinner. And of course, I'd inquire with the secretary, the master, to see if they wanted North Star guys there. And of course, absolutely. So you just never know what these guys are going to latch onto, because also it's a very small world here in the 518. Somebody always knew somebody, and that was a comfortable feeling.
It's one of those things you can judge the success of a program, not just on the numbers, and we'll get into some of the metrics on that later, but the other metrics is the number of us old guys, seasoned vets, that go, oh man, I wish there was something like this when I was going through Masonry. Because I think most of us, it still starts for everybody with the knock to the door, right? But there's the traveling and the visiting of the lodges. And to your point, Joe, if you don't know somebody that's already a Mason and you want to become one, and you open up your phone, because that's what everybody does these days, and Google's Masonic Lodge or Freemasonry near me, all this stuff is going to come up. And if somehow you're able to navigate through all of that junk to find a actual real lodge of Freemasons that meets near where you are, and it takes a lot from somebody from the outside as a gentleman to like come up and say, hey, I'm going to put on a shirt and tie and go walk into a room that I don't know anybody. But we have many human touch points that come through this. So when we talk about slowing down the process and getting people to visit the lodges, there's also some other components that go into this, which kind of feels like onboarding at a new job, where we start talking about setting expectations or writing papers about why you're interested in being a Freemason or what you're learning through the process.
And we do all that. It's definitely important.
It's important for both parties. It's important for the lodge to understand what the potential brother is trying to get out of Freemasonry, and then it's important for the gentleman to tell us what they're looking for. I mean, I've had many brothers now who, they were interested in historical aspects or just the philosophical parts of Freemasonry, and you kind of knew that the lodge that they were almost going to petition, or the one that they're sitting with, may not have been their best fit. And what's important about the Northstar program, and just programs in general, is when you do slow this stuff down and you ask them to write a letter of, let's say, introspection, and you discuss this with them, besides the fact you're opening up those bonds of fraternal relations, you're getting to understand what their motive is for joining our fraternity. And, that's what's the beautiful thing, because it allows us, there's a lot of, there's so many lodges, and all those lodges are, they want to do different things. And some lodges are better with, charitable work on the outside. And some lodges are great with the esoteric teachings. And when you can, you get that new brother and you put them into that lodge that's really their cultural fit, the sky's the limit. They're going to be Grandmaster one day.
I love that
camaraderie is definitely one of the biggest draws from these gentlemen who want to come into the craft. They want to be members because they want to meet like-minded individuals, and of course they say things like, I want to study the esoteric, I want to learn about the history of Freemasonry, but one of the number one catches is camaraderie and fellowship with other men. And it's rare that you find guys that come in and they want to travel to many lodges. They really just want to stick to a couple lodges because it becomes familiar. And Freemasonry, joining this lodge is just going to be a doorway, because as you brothers know, the key to actually experiencing the rawness of Freemasonry is traveling to other lodges. And you may be a member at a lodge for a year and then find out that the lodge that's a half an hour away is the lodge for you, and you could always affiliate. So I do believe that we have opportunities for these gentlemen who are not Masons to come in and join a Masonic lodge that may not be a cultural fit for them, but of course they're men. They're like-minded individuals on a lot of levels. They're fathers, they're workers, they're responsible for their families, and that's a bond right there. So
Yep.
on that note, on that fellowship note, they can connect with these men. If they find a lodge that is, sometimes guys like to smoke cigars and taste a little wine or something like that. Some brothers are there's lodges with like full of like lawyers and plumbers. I see that, I get that, but I got to tell you, I've seen some really. I've seen brothers do it. I've seen men come into the craft. They do a 180 and they stick with the lodge that you would never think that they would stay with. Like I've seen Yankee fans stay with lodge who are Red Sox fans. Okay, it can be done.
It can be. Well,
The magic of Freemasonry.
When you talk about success planning, you're like, wait. This is a fraternal, nonprofit, volunteer-driven organization. Like, why are they talking about this stuff? Because it matters to what Joe's saying. Like, I couldn't agree with you more when you talk about where a man is going to invest his time. And it's also what you don't know. Like, you'll maybe have heard the expression, ask one to be one, or making good men better. Those are all great marketing phrases, right? But when someone is coming to Freemasonry, there's this call in their heart to be a better person. So that's self-improvement, that's self-development. And here's an opportunity to take someone, whether they have a great leadership skill set or have absolutely had no exposure to being in charge of anything. The only person they've ever been responsible for is themselves. And now here we are taking that shift from you're just coming in and joining this thing that you know very little about. We're giving you a little taste of the buffet by being able to visit other lodges and get to know other brothers. But now we're actually getting you prepared to become a future leader. I know he was joking when he said it, but he wasn't that far from the truth. When Oren said, these will be our future Grand Masters, we could start them first at being the future masters of our lodges.
People don't realize, they call it the Disney way of management. Freemasonry has been doing this for hundreds of years, of teaching brothers who may never have had to order catering for 50 guys. And it teaches brothers to be those leaders, and it's all for free. Yeah, I mean, you pay dues, but it's nominal. You join, one of these, career-oriented seminars, and it could cost you $5,000. And here we're doing it just, for free. And you have mentors that are within the lodges here to help you. And, it's really something special when you see that shy 22-year-old. We actually, in my district, he's 22 now. He joined at the age of 19. So and to watch him develop and watch him grow is fantastic. And it's because the fraternity was here and had his back, and the brothers of his lodge, really, when you go there, you see it's like their older brother, fatherly figures to him. And you can already see the progression. And by time he's master, he'll own his own business one day because he'll have the self-esteem
Mm-hmm.
and the drive to do it. And you can see that it came from his lodge and Freemasonry.
Mm-hmm.
And we provide
100%.
the tools to make you better. It's just a matter of we're also here to help you along the
Mm-hmm.
way as well.
And Freemasonry does not give you a seat when it comes in. And Oren just said it. It gives you a set of working tools. It gives you an apron, and that denotes work. And you don't come into Freemasonry to be a volunteer, to be a sideliner. You come into work, and that work starts with yourself. You got to go into the deepest, the darkest places, and to make that change. It may be loud, it may be scary, you may feel alone, but again, when you talk about the brothers that you have to influence you and encourage you in your lodge, you can become something that you didn't think you were going to be or plan to be. And that's what masonry delivers. That's the final package, is you, and how much better you can be for yourself and also for your brothers. And you have brothers in your lodge right now that are watching us on how to be a mason, and it's our responsibility to show them how to use the working tools and get better. And no man is perfect. Every man has something that they're dealing with. Every man has something that they're bringing into the fraternity that they've brought in with them from the outside world.
So the Northstar program is a system, it's a process, it's how we get men who are interested in Freemasonry connected with a lodge near them. We prepare them for the idea of becoming a Freemason. But there's also another fold in that is we also prepare the lodge to be ready to accept these new and interested gentlemen in. And that's a key part of it. Let's talk about the lodge profile.
Ooh.
Like, how important is it for a lodge to know their own culture, their own identity before they can bring in new members?
So I've been
I think
working on
this is
this. I'm sorry.
I
Go,
think this
brother
is
Joe.
I think this is Oren. We have this conversation all the time about, the easy part is showing this great gift of Freemasonry, of work, that to a non-Mason. And along the way, we get to show them how we've changed, and they see the influences and they see the impact on our families, on our work. And after a while, that gets a little boring. But the real challenge is, how do you prepare a lodge and make it healthy to onboard Masons? And that's sometimes the biggest pushback from lodges who say they're ready to onboard Masons, but they haven't done anything with the Masons that they've raised in the past 5 years. You already have Masons who know how beautiful the craft is. Why not bring them back into the fraternity as opposed to bringing in new guys who you're just going to do the same thing with? So, what a challenge.
It's an unbelievable challenge, and I've been working on that question for the last few years. And with Right Worshipful Bob Siebold and the retention program, and with we developed a workbook of membership and lodge revitalization. We as brothers come into this craft and we self-reflect. I never understood why lodges refuse to self-reflect upon themselves. They don't see where they came from, where they want to go. And if it takes three brothers or more. I mean, if you can do it with a little, two brothers, it just takes a little bit more time. But you have to know where you came from. You have to be ready to know where you want to go. You have to have a clear messaging. You have to want to accept new brothers and give them something. I know it's been said on this podcast because I've listened to it. I know it's been said across our jurisdiction, but we're fighting so many battles in society. If we don't have a product to provide to new brothers or potential members, then after the third, fourth meeting, after the first year or two, why am I spending my time with you guys when I could be home with my wife? I could be home with my significant other. And that is the
Mhm.
problem. And we don't, for whatever reason, lodges, regardless of the amount of tools or help Grand Lodge tries to give, a local leadership, they just don't self-reflect upon themselves.
Mm.
They think it's okay. Like, let's have an argument over how much a light bulb costs, instead of having that 5-minute discussion of, how does Freemasonry help me, with my vices? Basic conversation, and you can learn a lot from your brothers that way.
Mhm.
I'd rather go to a lodge, spend 30 minutes talking about, what a rough stone looks like and how it affects me as being a rough stone. than going to a lodge,
Mhm.
listening to an argument of how much money we're going to donate.
Mm.
Because both important, but what am I really getting out of it?
Right. It's important too that I love that you pointed, not only that you listen to the podcast, thank you, Brother Oren, but you also put a face to sometimes a faceless part of Freemasonry, which is the Grand Lodge. And unfortunately, some brothers just look at Grand Lodge as like this thing that exists, and it just isn't there. And the resource that is Grand Lodge are the brothers like yourself and Joe who have stepped up and said, hey, I want to help improve a process. I want to hand something. I want to put my skills and my talents, my working tools to work here to bring other people in. But to your point, yes, even to the just brother in their local Blue Lodge, you play a significant role in bringing in new people and getting them to stay active in Freemasonry by how you act and how you're involved with being a Freemason.
Grand Lodge can only do so much, and I mean this in the nicest way. I mean, they're the governing body. They'll provide you the tools if they have the resources, financial resources, but it still has to start in the Blue Lodge. It has to come from the Blue Lodge because, it can't, and this is my opinion, but affiliation will only get you so far. It has to be from the grassroots, up from the bottom up, and you can change the culture of a lodge within a couple years. It doesn't happen overnight, and if it does, that's great for that lodge. But I've spoken to lodges upstate. Wallkill Lodge has a great program, and those brothers found a need, and they developed it, and they ran with it, and they're seeing the successes of it. And I know lodges on Long Island that did the same thing. So it is, there is proof that the methods work. And Grand Lodge has supported all these lodges along the way, but it has to come from the districts and the lodges to do the work.
In some jurisdictions, it's referred to as a companion. I've heard it as a guide. I've heard it as a conductor. The Northstar Program, we use a term called mentor. It is a very important role, different than how maybe some lodges bring in or have someone to onboard new members into it. What is the role of a mentor, and how key are they into the path of an interested gentleman becoming a Freemason?
I've been a mentor since I was raised. My job was to make sure that the brothers coming in felt comfortable. And it was important that when I walked into a lodge room, that I knew what the gavel tap stood for. I knew the sign of fidelity. I knew when to do grand honors and how it was performed. Simple thing is the nuances of the lodge, the culture of the lodge etiquette, protocols, very important to learn. And those small things can make the difference between a brother who feels comfortable and a brother who feels uncomfortable and he doesn't come back. So a mentor is the brother that's going to show you how to feel comfortable in lodge. And if you don't have the basics, which is whether it be from the MDC course to know what you just went through and to see how the degrees and how you reflect in the degrees and how you see yourself in the degrees, and then to actually be in lodge and physical lodge to know the nuances of the lodge so you can participate. And participation is important. And when you show up, you want to be a part of it. And if you don't know what to do, you might not be there the next day. So mentors are definitely important.
We call it mentors, we call it success coaches, we call it retention officers. Just being a brother, I mean, it's really what it comes down to. I mean, my mentor was the Tyler because I came in when the entered apprentices weren't allowed in the lodge room. So who's the guy I spoke to? I was hanging out with Tyler, and through the years we became brothers and friends and just family at this point. But it's important for new brothers to be able to feel comfortable to ask Brother Joe a question, like, "Hey, I never been to a district meeting. Am I supposed to wear a suit? Hey, I'm going to this thing. Am I supposed to wear a tie?" Because no one wants to be embarrassed when you walk in because you didn't have anyone that you could speak to. And that is the key to everything we do. It's being part of that brotherhood, that when someone falls down, we're there to help them. In their best occasions when they get married, we're there celebrating with them. In the worst times of their life, we're there with a helping hand. It's called brotherhood for a reason. Whatever title you want to give it, mentor, retention officer, success coach, that's the key to all of this. That's the fraternal aspect. And that's why they're important. They're in regardless. How do you get someone who just comes into a lodge off the street, even though the lodge assigns the person and says, this is your mentor, call him at any time, and that particular brother doesn't return a phone calls, or he happens not to be the most friendliest guy in the world? So how does that make you feel being a new brother? Oh, every time I call him, he doesn't have the time for me, or he doesn't want to help me with my questions. After a while, you start losing like what's so great about the fraternity. And if you ask most Masons that have been around for longer than 5 to 10 years, they had people along the way to help them and show them the way, because that's what we're about. And that's, and if we continue to do that moving forward, our fraternity will continue to get stronger and continue to grow.
So just like any Masonic coin that you've seen, it's two-sided. There's the engagement part. We've talked about that, how the Northstar program and process helps filter or guide an interested gentleman to a lodge room door to eventually meet and then knock and take those steps in becoming a Mason. The other side of the coin, let's talk about retention. That's a huge problem too. Oren, you kind of talked about, and Joe, you touch on it as well. It's the old adage, it's cheaper to keep them. If we can just keep them in as members, then we don't have to run around trying to make new ones. But the Northstar program uses engagement as an interesting way to also retain people from drifting away. Can you tell us more about that?
I think it's the Northstar program. It's almost ironic how, for the reason why it works and the purpose of it is because we teach retention almost off the bat. We show them the value of Freemasonry, not by putting it in their face, but the long process of being that quote unquote mentor in the beginning, but having them become a friend of Freemasonry first. And if they see an interest, if they have an interest in it, they'll keep coming back. And then you get to see the expectations of participation. And they see the brothers that they gravitate towards, they have conversations, and that's valuable to them. The other aspect of the need to become a member is that they may have been swayed by some conspiracy stuff, the romanticized version of Freemasonry and what it means. But then when they really get down to the nuts and bolts of it, it really is the participation and showing up at different events so they can feel the brotherhood and the expectations of Freemasonry are given to them right in their lap. And once they start to participate and practice that, it's kind of like a soft membership. They're not members yet, but they show up to the events for dinner, fellowship events. They bring their wives, they can bring their family and stuff like that.
There's something special when you walk into a room, especially a Grand Lodge event, and there's 500 brothers there. You don't know who you from a hole in a wall, but they will call you brother. They'll shake your hand. They'll introduce themselves. We've all been in social, gatherings where you can eat at a dinner table at a wedding, and the person next to you will refuse to say a word to you. Or you go to a lodge, or a Grand Lodge function, and you're sitting at a table with guys you don't know or brothers you don't know, and everyone's willing to talk to you. Everyone's willing to have that conversation. I mean, there's nothing better than that feeling that you're part of something, and regardless of where you live, from upstate to downstate, you're a brother, and it means something. And that retention aspect of it is, we lost something along the way. Whatever the theories are of why, however it happened, but we lost our senior members are disappearing due to moving away or health. Some just have become disenfranchised with the fraternity for various reasons. But the idea is, retention is a two-pronged approach. Northstar, we're talking about newer members, but the retention aspect is keeping those lines of communication with the older members too. It's bridging the gap between the senior members and the younger members, because we're losing generational knowledge by not trying to keep everyone together. Sometimes it happens, don't get me wrong. Sometimes lodges may be in such disarray that you can't keep the older members. But does that mean you give up on the newer members? You have
Mhm.
to develop what you have in front of you. If you're rebuilding a lodge, let's say, revitalizing a lodge, and it's just 5 brothers trying to revitalize the lodge, you can only put your resources so far. So we're going to try to bring everyone who's older back, or we're going to try to work on what's in front of us. You can try to do both, but you're going to burn yourself out. I mean, in today's technology, this is not years ago. Today's technology, to retain some older members, sometimes they don't hear from the lodge. They moved away, and they never even got a postcard. But with today's technology, you can't send an email. We can't lift up a phone. We can't do certain things that just say, we're thinking about you. These are the little things of the brotherhood that lodges sometimes either overlook, they neglect it. But if we go back to the basics, you'll be surprised of the impact you're going to have on someone who may not have heard from you for 5 to 10 years.
Mhm.
And they still sent in their money, but never got a thank you.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, sorry.
Mhm. Yeah. I believe the framework of Freemasonry is super important because it's not just about the new guys coming in, it is about the guys who are already here. And when the new guys come in, older guys touch base, and the new guys encourage the older guys, I'll say. With new technologies coming in, it makes it so easy just to connect with guys. So the framework of Freemasonry is just as important as the, say, the lodge meeting, because again, this is an organization, and we do have to get better at retaining our brothers as they come in, but also retaining, as we're talking here, retaining the brothers that we have.
There's a lot we covered tonight, and I know as when I was master of my lodge here in the District of Columbia, we don't have a Northstar program. We don't really have an official way or process of how to bring in interested gentlemen or prospects. It's still the old-fashioned way of, you come to the lodge and you go that route. But I knew as a well-trained North Star coach that I wanted to slow down our degree process. I want to slow down our Masonic education. I want to slow down the petition process so that we could really cater that year or that time to that new brother and really make sure that that seed was planted so that he would be a strong tree in, our Masonic forest. If we got a master of a lodge who's listening right now and going, okay, this sounds amazing. I'd love for my lodge to be able to develop something to get better brothers or help brothers become better through this process and help strengthen our lodge and really turn things around. What is, in your opinion, what's like a first step audit that he needs to do to start making some of this change?
I like to go backwards though for one sec, if you don't mind. I I notice, and we get a lot of this conversation that we just brought in 5 or 6 entered apprentices. Then we just brought in 5 or 6 master masons or 8 master masons into the lodge. It's amazing, and I give those lodges kudos. But then you think about the retention aspect. You just brought in 5 entered apprentices. How many people are mentoring them? Do you have 5 separate mentors? Do you have 2 separate mentors? It's a lot of people to bring in and make sure they get the experience that you hope they're going to get as you continue that journey. So I just want to throw that out there that, we have as lodges and members, we always look at, well, our membership's decreasing. Yeah, I mean, it happens. Things happen. It's cyclical, but quality over quantity. I mean, that's always been, a thought that if you do slow it down, maybe, the class may get a little smaller, but that retention rate will increase tenfold. So it's always something that, we can keep in mind. To answer the other question of what can you do? The first step is, in my personal opinion, is the lodge has to do a survey amongst themselves of what they're looking for. What is their culture? How many brothers are they willing to bring in? How are they going to handle this retention and mentorship? Do they have the brothers that it's going to take? Because if you can bring in 2 or 3 brothers and you have those quality brothers that you feel comfortable with, then you know that you're going to retain them because you have the capabilities to bring them in and mentor them. But if you don't know as a lodge or a new mentor who's a new master who's looking at this stuff and saying, where do I start? This is amazing. You got to start within the lodge, because if the lodge can't do it, you can bring in 1,000 guys every year and you will never retain any of them.
Mhm. Mm-hmm.
Joe, what
You
are
have to
your
have
first step
guys.
advice?
Ooh,
What's your
first
advice for
steps.
first step? Yeah.
First step as being like from a mentor's standpoint,
Well, you're
entertaining a non-Mason.
well, you're a master of the lodge. You're like, wow, these guys threw out all these great ideas. Like, okay, I want to put something like this into action here at my lodge. We've got
Gotcha.
problems.
Yeah,
What are some of the first step things they need to look at?
we got problems. Okay, that's a whole separate issue there. All right, let's say if we have a lodge that's kind of more on the 75%, they're in the 80% range where they're productive, they're proactive, they have some events, they have dinner before meetings, and they meet twice a month, and then they have like a family day, and they have a Zoom connection as well where they're participating in a fellowship, even if it's just digitally, especially during the winter months here in the Northeast. Basically have guys who are consistent, staying, making, being available, making time, and following up with text messages, following up with phone calls, not being boring, not being, because sometimes it gets a little stale, but you want to keep it fresh. But sometimes Freemasonry has things like a book club. We have multiple DVDs and stuff. I used to do a fellowcraft night, and DVDs were a big thing, and they talked about the mysteries of Freemasonry and stuff like that. But having brothers who are available, who are going to be consistent with the follow up, and if you don't have a follow up, don't even bother asking for North Star prospects because they're not going to come back.
It's funny. I was thinking of the wise words of a fellow brother who says, in order to have a good neighbor, you need to be a good neighbor. That's how he would always sign off on his podcast. And I'm just thinking
Mm,
of Hank right now in this situation. In order to have good brothers, you kind of need to start being a good one, is what you're suggesting.
mhm.
Absolutely.
100%. Just going back to there's brothers in your lodge and also non-Masons that you bring around to your events that are watching you on how to be a Mason, and that's important.
Right, Worshipful Brian Finger and I travel a lot together, and we always have this conversation. And he came out with, a lodge is a business. What's our product? It's the Masonic experience. So if a lodge doesn't have a very good Masonic experience, are you going to come back to that store? No.
Mm.
So it's the same concept. If you're a master,
Mhm,
yes, you're proud that you got to the East, and you should be proud. You put in that work,
mhm,
you deserve to be there.
mhm,
Use your time wisely. What can you do to either assist membership, recruitment, whatever the case may be? But what can you fix that you know will enhance that Masonic experience? As Brother Joe
mhm,
said, you're a lodge that has 80%. Maybe that couple more percentage of Masonic education. So you bring that in. And then the next Worshipful Master brings in a couple more guest lecturers. And then before you realize it, you're at 100%. It only took a couple years.
mhm,
You can't fix everything overnight. It takes time. It's
mhm,
hard to move something, it's so embedded sometimes in its old ways that people just get stuck and they just can't see the young brothers are willing to change. And that's the other thing. Younger brothers are willing to right the ship or just move, the ship a little bit to the right or the left because they see what the need is. Sometimes the older brothers have to allow them. It's a
mhm. Get out the
generational
way.
transformation at this point.
Mhm,
The fraternity is in a generational transformation, and
mhm,
the old, and this is society in general. It's just however you want to see it, but you have to allow the younger generation to make their mark. You be the guiding hand. You be their mentor. But I always hate when it's like, well, we tried that 10 years ago. Okay, so 10 years ago, maybe brothers didn't bowl, but they bowl now. They want to bowl now. So let's have a bowling night. Like, what's the problem? Like, what's the big deal?
I mean, come on, man. I got guys who plan cornhole tournaments. Cornhole, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I go. I mean, I just go for the fellowship, but
Yeah.
anything will bring brothers together, man. So, I mean, if you're a brother coming in asking how can I help, you should be a brother 20 years in asking how you can help.
Yeah. We had in my district, and he was an entered apprentice at the time. He found a need, and it was right around Thanksgiving, and he goes, "We're going to do a food drive, and we're going to go to ShopRite." And he took the initiative himself, and he set up the whole program, and we showed up. How do you stop or stymie that type of involvement because, oh, well, he's only an entered apprentice? That whole mindset kills the fraternity.
Mm.
Brothers join us for those reasons. So sometimes it's, Brother RC, if, you have the idea, put the whole idea together, I'll make sure I get you the manpower.
Okay, sounds good. I'll
So
get to work right now.
It works, but that's what it comes down to sometimes. And how do you stop people from doing that? And I do notice, I've spoken to a lot of brothers in a lot of different areas, and some of the basic things of, the master doesn't like to do these things. And I said, the master doesn't like you being a mentor to another brother? Like, how is he stopping you from being a brother? I understand certain things, but I'm like, I don't get it. Like, you don't do a ladies' lunch, or you don't do any type of social gatherings. Why? Well, we don't know how. You own a building? I mean, owning a building is half the battle. Like, just go get a dozen bagels and a orange juice and just, invite people over for an hour. It's not a big deal. Just, why not try it?
I've had the greatest impact on brothers just wearing the white apron. I didn't need an officer's apron. I didn't need a purple apron, and it's the biggest impact you can make. There's no rules, regulations, there's no guidelines. Just come in and be helpful. I mean, of course, you want to take direction from past masters, right worshipfuls, of course, but come in and be a mentor off the bat. Sounds like a very generic thing, but also, like Oren said, just come in and just start picking up. Let brothers know what you need help with and start doing it. Brothers are, we have those naysayers in the fraternity. I mean, you could, back up a dump truck full of gold and dump it on somebody's front lawn, on the lodge lawn, and there's going to be that one guy that's going to come out and say, we got to clean this stuff up. You know what I mean? Like, so,
or it's not enough gold.
Or it's not enough gold, right? It's like, give them the keys to life, and they're asking for the doors too. Yeah. But that's okay. You just show that brother where he can help out. But you don't want to stymie somebody who's coming in to say, hey, I want to do something.
When you're active, when your lodge is active, and you're in the circle is back to Northstar. When you're showing all this activity to a potential member, and they see all this good stuff that is going on, why wouldn't you want to join?
Mm-hmm.
They see that you're in the community. They see you at the local shop, right? Collecting cans. They see you at the local cemetery, historic cemetery, doing a cleanup in the spring, laying wreaths down in the veterans cemetery, donating money to the local school district. Why wouldn't you want to join? Why wouldn't you want to be part of an organization that's like that? And then knowing after speaking to the brothers and finding out what you do in those meetings and the rituals helping me become a better person, you do all that. Why wouldn't your significant other say, I already see the improvement? Go be with those brothers. That's where we, it's not that we don't advertise it, but we're just not, we have, I can't think of the word. We just have insulated ourselves from the outside world when we used to be the center of all these communities. And when we were the center of the communities, people wanted to join us. So now that we secluded ourselves, people forgot about us. And the idea is to get back out there. Then you'll see Northstar will increase. Brothers will want to join. Gentlemen would want to join and become brothers. And that is the key to the whole program. And then when you got them, you start initiating them with the letter of introspect. Why are we doing that? What are you trying to gather out of Freemasonry? We're here to help you. You're here to help us. It all comes together when you have that open lines of communication and you're an open and active lodge. Problem is when you're not inactive. Sorry.
No, when you were talking, it got me thinking of like the first time I visited a Masonic lodge. Now, I'm the first Mason that I know of in my family in any time. So I'm a newbie, right? And I hear these guys refer to each other as brother. And it took me a while to get used to hearing other men call each other brother, because I have a younger brother, but that's brother with a little b, not Masonic brother with a big B, right? And it's just interesting now because hearing this conversation, I see it when I visit lodges and I'm like, oh man, I would totally affiliate with this lodge right now. These guys all get along. They all know each other. There's something cool about this room. I feel like I need to be a part of this because I'm not. Like, I want that energy, right? And if you feel that way as a traveling man, but you don't feel that way about your lodge, you need to address that problem, because what do you think new guys feel when they come to visit you? They can feel the death, the distance, the whatever the word is that you want to use. They can pick up on all that stuff. And they're like, yeah, no, I think I'd rather just stay home and watch what's on Netflix right now.
You're 100% right. I love my district. I travel. So I live on Eastern Long Island. My lodge meets in New York City. It takes sometimes 2.5 hours to get to a lodge meeting. When I walk into that lodge meeting, the high fives, the hugs, the kisses from my lodge to the whole district. And I've had other brothers visit us, and they say they've never seen anything like that. And that's why I tell people, they always ask me, why do you travel? I can join any other lodge. That's why, because that's the Masonic experience that I'm receiving. So why would I want to go find somewhere else? I know I'm getting it. And that, you hit it right on, the nail on the head. That's, why not? And if your lodge is not doing that, how can you change that culture?
And the Northstar, Northstar is just kind of a way to it's a strategy with tactics and objectives to try to build up to provide this. But if you already have this in like an organic way within your lodge, as you're talking about, Oren, like, this is a great lodge. People are going to want to be a part of it. And now you just have to do the other part, which is keep retention, keep it interesting, keep it fun, keep them involved.
Culture is the hardest thing to change. It's the hardest thing to develop, and it's the hardest thing to change. And I think when lodges find their culture and find their thing, then the rest of it becomes easy. And it's hard because you always have sometimes that 2 or 3 curmudgeons in the back going, no, that's not, the way we do it. I told lodges, I said, listen, like, as Brother Joe said, if you guys are wine drinkers and you guys have a special night once every couple of weeks, and you make special aprons and you put a wine bottle on it, whatever the shtick is, but the brothers are having a great time. Who cares? The people are going to come. You have whatever the deal is, and that helps change the culture. But if you want to be a funny duddy and everyone comes in like you said, and you can cut the air with a knife, how much longer are you going to get? How are you going to get new brothers to feel welcome there? It's just never going to work out. And you don't mean to say it like that, but it's just not going to work.
That's why identity is important. Masonic identity is important. And again, when new guys come in, whether they're non-Masons or new brothers, they're looking at us to see what we're impacted by, what makes us excited to be here at Lodge and travel, whether it be 2 hours or whether it be you're around the corner from your lodge. The identity of being a Mason is important, and it should feel powerful. You should be excited to be a Mason.
And to your point as well, like when you say identity, it doesn't mean that everybody is the same in that lodge. Everybody's like-minded, but the more diverse and different, that's the more fun for me.
100%.
You look at Brother Joe's sweatshirt. I mean, for those that can't see it, it's the old 17th. Looks like NASCAR. That's a cool sweatshirt. I'll be able to know it's the old 17th. And you see it when you go to St. John's weekend. And I tell all the new brothers, go to St. John's weekend. When you march in the parade and you see the Bronx, you see Richmond County, you see the old 17th, and everyone's got their whole thing. Some guys are wearing Hawaiian shirts. Some guys, Norseman Lodge, wearing the Viking stuff. It's their identity. It's their culture. It's everything that's about them. And that's what makes this fraternity great, because regardless if, you're 11 lodges or 18 lodges and the old 17th, each one has their own thing. And each one comes together as a district, and the bonds of the fraternity is strong. And how do you beat that? You can't. You just can't beat it. If you said it on this podcast, and we say it across every lodge, what type of fraternity, what other fraternity, regardless of race, creed, color, religion, whatever it is, brothers come together in just the bonds of the fraternity. So why wouldn't you want to join an organization like that? I'm upset that I didn't join earlier.
Right. Well, this is the kind of episode that I love, because it makes me want, not that I don't every night, I wish my lodge met and I could hang out with my brothers, but I'm really looking forward to getting to my next lodge meeting, because I really miss hanging out with my guys. But I want to be respectful of your time, because I know that you guys have other calls that you got to make this evening, and just want to thank you so much for your time and your insight and the awesome good work that you're doing for the Grand Lodge of New York. Right Worshipful Joe Evans and Oren Kutnowsky, thank you so much for your time on the Craftsman Online podcast.
Thank you. Thank you
Appreciate
for
you.
having us.